You are along for the ride with the Mad Dog and Cole. I can fix it. Farrell.
Cactus are just really pokey speed bumps.
Love it. Stay tuned, folks. We got Destry Abbott coming up next.
I decided to fly through the air and live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as I could, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait.
Man, thank you so much for the inspiring words, Mr. Evil Knievel. Living in the sunlight, doing what you love. We all need a slice of that in our lives, don't we?
Absolutely. Something to look forward to.
Yep, for sure. Man, we got a guest coming on here. We got to thank our partners, Kicker Performance Audio, kickeraudio.com for all your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, off-road, man, personal audio, headphones, earbuds, everything you need. Get living loud with Kicker Performance Audio at kicker.com. Of course, Bomber Floating Eyewear, bombereyewear.com. Tommy the Bomber wanted to create the Levi's of sunglasses where you got more pairs than you know what to wear. He's got them styles after styles, lens colors, lens options. You can get them like what I'm wearing right now, which is a Boogie Bomb with a deep tint, ANSI, OSHA approved safety lens, and they're polarized and they float. That's right. Bomber Floating Eyewear, bombereyewear.com. Let's get right to this guest. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we have the one, the only, the legend, Destry Abbott on board. Destry, first, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I know how busy you are. Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. I was honored to come on here. You know, we've known each other for a while and happy to come on and, you know, anything to support the sport, to grow the sport and get new people involved or, you know, whatever I can do. I love the sport just as much as any fan out there. So yeah, I've just been blessed to do pretty decent at racing. And now I just turned 50 and now I'm enjoying kind of giving back with the athletes with my D8 training and helping riders out, and not even racers, just riders. I have a lot of clients that just want to learn how to ride the bike, being efficient, safer, smoother. And so I love it. You know, and then just had one kid just leave today that was here for a 5-day camp, and we did the gym. And so I'm enjoying what I do now. I love the place I'm at.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And you say a little success at racing. Cole's kind of got some stats on that might tell a different story. Cole, what you got?
Well, feel free to correct me on any of these, Destry, but we have 5 Hare and Hound championships, 5 Best in the Desert championships, 8 ISDE medals overall. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Participated in X Games multiple times. One of the pioneers of endurocross. You were with Kawasaki for 14 years, and you've been with KTM since 2018.
Correct.
All right.
That's nice job on that. That's good. Yeah.
Some of it's easy to find. Some of it had to go in the archives a little bit.
Yeah. No, I kind of like to be all around. And I raced outdoors for a little bit and qualified for outdoor nationals. Did Pikes Peak on a hill climb bike and won the 2 to 3 pro class there. So I've kind of jumped around and I've really enjoyed doing different things. So yeah.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, it's like you've done all these things, but you've also been successful at all of them. Really says a lot about your drive and ambition and how much you enjoy the sport to be able to excel. If you don't like riding, you know, enduro cross, or you don't like riding outdoor moto, most people like aren't going to be good at it, right? But you obviously enjoy all of it. I mean, even to the Instagram posts today, taking a rest during King of the Motos. Dude, you nothing I could do. I'm in awe. The other accolade that I have to throw out that I know Cole won't was there's two things. One, you are pretty much the reason that Cole decided to race KX 500s.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That is true. That is true. What's that?
Cole, I'm stoked to hear about that.
Yeah, no. I mean, who doesn't love the snow shovel bikes, you know?
Exactly. Oh yeah. Yeah. They have the big scoop rear fender and yeah. Oh yeah. I got plenty of time on that bad girl. And every now and then, I know we're jumping around, but every now and then, I'll take a spin on a KX 500. I actually don't have my championship bike. It's actually back in a museum now back east. And it's got a lot of one-off parts on the last year. We got a lot of factory parts and it was cool, but every now and then I'll jump on one and, it's fun, but it's actually scarier riding it nowadays versus like, my KTM 300 or 350 and they're dual sports, it's like, holy crap, they were a lot of work and you had to really finesse those bikes. So yeah.
They definitely have personality. Even I can say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Cole won a championship on his.
Oh, you did. What'd you win, Cole?
Big six in the Revolution class, and then
that's awesome,
got second the next year. So
nice job, buddy. Congrats.
Thank you.
That. That's cool.
It was just fun to even have in the parking lot because guys would walk by and be like, "Can't believe you're racing this thing," and you're like, "Well, it's one of the best handling bikes I've ever owned." So I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, that's awesome. Whenever I see one out in the desert, whatever, I'm like, boom, I'm heading that way because I want to go chat with this guy.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, this is cool. I'm stoked when I see it. And, nowadays KX 500s are worth way more than they were 5 years ago. They're like hot commodity and they're awesome bikes. Like what an amazing motor. Like that bike, you could be doing 40 in last gear and get on the gas and you're to 80 in no time. Like they were fast.
Oh yeah. Yep. And you could still ride them at the track. You could put it in third and take the inside of a corner. I mean, go figure.
I would ride mine a gear high, and you had to respect the power because there's a few times it definitely got me in trouble, and there's a few times it got me out of trouble too. So yeah, it was fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he even had, I believe, told me one time he had your poster on his wall.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Gonna throw me under the bus. Like, yes, I did.
I dig it. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. That's respect there.
Well, it was signed for what it's worth. I still have that picture burned in my brain. It's you're coming out of a left-hander and you kind of got your boot up and obviously you're on the 500. So
yeah. That's cool. I love the 500. Every now and then I go back and I try to find some old photos, back in my prime. We didn't have the content as they do now with iPhones and all that. And I'm like, that was back in black and white days. No, I'm joking. It's not that far back, but yeah, it was just not as much exposure back then as there is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way back. Cole and I have talked about it a few times. It's like, have you got a picture of that bike you raced? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Somebody does somewhere, but no, not me.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And the other really cool thing, when you started your shall we call it a tenure at Kawasaki?
Oh yeah.
I believe that you were recruited by a good friend of mine and a good friend of yours, Mr. Reed Nordine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Reed's a great guy. He lives up in the Prescott area. We were talking about Prescott Arena Cross, and we saw him a few months ago. We went and said hi, and Reed was a big part of my race. And I was actually over in Italy racing the ISDE, my first ISDE, and over all the tests, and kind of like a lot of people around, besides the US, I was up and coming, and I was racing for KTM at the time as a privateer, and was one of those things like, whoa, who's this kid? And I did pretty well there, got a gold medal, and on the flight back, Reed was on our flight, and Kawasaki Team Green was the one to be on. Like if there's one thing, and I'm like, I was making a little money from KTM, and they offered me bikes and parts, and like expenses and stuff, no money, and I'm like, I want to be on a KX500. I want to be on the best team with the factory mechanic. And so I went over there, and, you know, my career kind of took off from that next year. So I took Ty Davis's spot. He went over to Yamaha, so I took his spot at Kawi, and then my career pretty much was a big part of Kawasaki and Team Green and Reed and them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love Reed to death. I've known him for several years and don't get to see him near enough anymore,
Yeah.
but he's a great guy. But you were talking about your when you were up and coming, but I want to go back even further, even before that. Because where did it start with you? I know your dad is definitely an influence, and it's so awesome. I love visiting with him at the track, and every time I get to see him, it's so nice and always good to see him. But throw us back to like what lit the first fire, so to speak.
That's really good. My dad raced desert, so he was back in the desert days, and then it was like mid '80s. You know, my dad. Of course, we were going to some events, and it was next thing I know, I'm like, I want to race, and I was just full on beginner, by like 80 cc beginner, and I remember racing my first desert race, and I followed a girl around, and I got last place just following. I didn't know how to pass. You know, we knew nothing, and we came from a really small income, so it was one of those things that when we could afford it, we went. My dad was a truck driver and delivered locally here, and and it kind of just took off from there, and it actually worked out. I tell the guys that, the kids nowadays, even parents, that I wouldn't say I was bad. I wasn't a bad student. I was actually a really shy, quiet kid, but I love sports. But motorcycles really were like my calling to me. That was my calling. And, it was one thing that my parents told me, if I'm not getting C+ grades, I wasn't riding, and they held me to it. And I learned quick. And, I think nowadays, I don't want to say this new generation, but I had to work. I mowed yards in the summer. I worked for my uncle, and I did whatever I could to get parts or get a new tire or whatever. And I think it made me appreciate things more now, because we came from nothing. We lived in a single wide trailer, and we didn't have much. And I think the nice thing is it made me work for it, but it makes me appreciate it and respect the ones that do put in the work too. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you got obviously graduated out of the 80s, and what was the next step?
So it was 3 or 4 years, I made it to 80 expert, and it was desert. My dad was not about moto, and he was like, I don't like motocross. He wants me on the ground as much as possible. And so once I won the expert championship locally, it was ADRA, Arizona Desert Racing Association, back in the 80s and early 90s. And I think it was, late 80s, maybe early 90s, I jumped up onto a 125 and KTM, and we were on KTMs for like almost 10 years. And that's when KTMs aren't what they are nowadays. Nowadays, they're like the premier bike. Back then, they needed some love and work. And, but we were at Dirt and Street, which was the local shop here. And I just jumped up, and then I was in full beginner again, starting over at 125 beginner. And until I won the championship in that series, my dad went and bumped me up. So then I went in, and, it was basically 90, 91 is when I started going pro and winning locally. And then we started going to National Hare and Hounds, Best in Desert, which was more back then, not all team races. They had GPs, they had a lot of different races, and, just turned some heads there. And I was just enjoying it. But, we had our daughter, Kelsey. I was 19, my wife was 18. So it was not planned, but it worked out. It was like, it was a blessing. At the time I was like, oh, I'm done with racing. But I was working, and I was trying to go to school to become a firefighter. And then I switched over to fire science. And then I switched to criminal justice and tried to get into that, and, worked full time and trying to ride on the weekends is all I was doing. And, luckily my wife was doing well with the bank she was working at. And she's like, babe, she's always been so supportive. And she's like, why don't you, I know this is what you want, put a little more emphasis in it. And then I worked part-time, and next thing you know, it started paying off, but I was putting in the work. And I think that's, the biggest thing is you earlier mentioned about how people love what they do. And I'm like, I am blessed because I really do love what I do with giving back or riding. And I'm like, when I tell people I'm going to work, me going to work is loading up my bike in the back of a truck, heading to the desert or motocross track and riding and working with riders. I'm like, kind of hard to complain about my job. So, but the mindset we were talking about, what I wanted to hit on there was the mental side is I'm big about that is if you're in a good place mentally, you're going to succeed. Like you just got, and we all have negative, we can be negative. I know our family can be negative about a lot of things, but negativity isn't going to do you any good. So, and it's a struggle. I mean, I have struggles still, but I'm like, I like to be thankful for majority of the stuff. I'm like still very lucky to be doing what I do. Have a lot of great companies behind me. I have a lot of great people that I get to work with. And, this sport is awesome. Our industry is great. And, I just love being part of it. We talked about it earlier. It's just going to events, hanging out with people, camping, and it's fun to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, there's a lot of your story that everybody knows. And, I think those early years and the grind that you put in and your mental attitude, then, when your diagnosis came in, that mental attitude was already strong, already that of a winner and a champion, no matter what. And, I've read a lot of your quotes and a lot of articles over the years, from you. It's really inspiring. And, the fact that you're back riding, I mean, I got to see you race.
Right.
And I know you don't really race much anymore, but the very first endurocross that I went to, I think in 18 or 19, in Denver, you raced. And, for the ride that you put in, I was like, Destry, you should be still riding in pro.
Yeah, I know. I heard that a lot, but the problem is I don't train even then since I came back from leukemia, the cancer I had. And I'm like, I'm good for a lap or two. My speed's pretty good, but my fitness is horrendous. And I just don't put in that work anymore. So, yeah, but.
Yeah. And I know, take us through those times, because I know that was, for a lot of people, that would be, well, I'm done. That's it. No more racing, no more, but give us some insight into your mental attack, if you will.
Yeah, you kind of nailed a little bit there on, motorcycles is my therapy. I've never been to a therapist and nothing wrong with that, but my motorcycles are what makes me happy. It puts me in a good place mentally, has those endorphins, release those endorphins. I'm in a better place there. The one time we can clear my mind where, I still deal with a lot of pain and side effects that a lot of people don't know about, but again, me complaining about it's not going to do anything. So I'm just trying to enjoy the times I can do this because I like I said, I love riding still, but I think a lot of it comes back to my dad. My dad was in the military. He was always about don't give up. All I care about is you don't give up. Like, I don't care how you do, just don't quit. And that's something I remember when I was young, I quit and it just ate at me for the longest time. And that was back on mini days, and I'm like, since that day, I'm like, I am not giving up. Like, I just couldn't handle that. I'm like, I hate failing. So I'm like, I think no matter what it is we talk about the mindset is just, it's a powerful thing. And I'm a big believer in, the mindset, what you focus on is you can conquer amazing things and it's just not giving up. So that's what it was. Since 2016, when I was diagnosed, it was the toughest year of my life by far. Like I lost almost 50 pounds. I had no muscle. I could barely get off my bed to go to the bathroom, get back in the bed. And it was some really low times. So of course, mentally I was in some bad places. And, but the big picture was I still had motorcycles out in the garage. And when I did have a little bit of time, I'd go out there and fiddle with them and polish them up, even though I wasn't riding. And, my son Cooper was racing. My daughter moved back from California to here to take care of myself and Charlotte, because 3 months after I was diagnosed, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So we were definitely hit pretty hard there. And, both of our kids are amazing. And the adults they are today it's awesome. I'm like, I don't want to take credit for it, but they're the ones that have done what they did. And it's pretty neat. So, and that's why, like, tomorrow morning I leave California with my dad. We were talking about my dad. He's 80, almost 80. He turns 80 this year and he loves it. And I'm like, this is what I love. So we're heading over there to watch the first hard enduro, US hard enduro for 2023. And, definitely going to go cheer him on and be there for whatever he may need, or just us clapping, whatever it is. So.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. Yeah. And the mindset, the don't give up. If people have any question about that, the first race I ever saw you race live, it was there in Denver. And in the first moto, you went down in the woodpile. You got the whole shot, and you cleaned their clocks off a start, and you hit the woodpile and went down. And it was something I will never forget. You got up, you got on the bike, everybody went past you, you pulled off. I think Cooper or somebody was there and helped you straighten the bars.
Yeah, that's I remember this.
Yeah, and then you proceeded to just put your head down and not quit. And with, I think, 2 laps to go or white flag, you took the lead and ended up winning by over half a lap. And I was like, holy cow, like, the guy's a machine.
I don't know about that, but I do this. I totally remember that. And, those are the things I cherish. And that's what I said. It's more rewarding when you got to come back, and it's just keeping a level mindset, not be too high, not be too low, not being frustrated, not using bad energy. It's like a good energy when, even though I knew things were bad, I'm looking ahead. Like me,
Yep.
Dwelling on the firewood pit, going down my front end, I'm mad. Now I'm trying to go faster. In the long run, you ended up going slower and wasting more energy. So it's just regrouping. And, those are fun races. That's when I was doing the vet class. And, and like you were saying earlier, some of the pros would give me crap on why I wasn't racing. And I'm like, I'm 45. So I'm like, that's, that was five years ago. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I love watching. I'm like, I can't go out there with you guys. And maybe, like I said, a lap or two, but I enjoy it. I'm a fan. Like, I enjoy going in the stands, and the level what those guys are doing. You mentioned it earlier. I've been there since the start. Round 1, the very first round of Endurocross. First time they ever came to the States, and they raced in Las Vegas. Eric Bernard and them put it on, and it was awesome. We were like, this is the coolest thing. And, it's been fun to be there from the beginning to what it is today. So.
Yeah. And, speaking of watching, and I've watched you watch your son race, and I've watched you talk to him after he's had maybe not the best moto and celebrate and everything else. And it's really inspiring. It's cool when, I'm able to be down in that pit area and he's racing. I'll take a look at what you're doing, and you're like really pretty calm.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, but Cooper puts in the work. Like, he does it. He has his program, and everything he's doing, he's earned. He's definitely doesn't mind riding, doesn't mind working out off the bike, does everything mentally, does everything he needs to do to be successful. And, he's surpassed me, especially in Endurocross. He's accomplished way more than I ever did in Endurocross. And it's fun. I think him and his wife, they are a great team, and it's cool to see what they're doing now. It's like, I like to think I'm part of that at one point, and still today too. But now he's like, he just turned 25, and he's maturing, and now I think the sky's the limit for him. So it's cool. And like I said, he keeps a even keel as far as like his mindset. We talk about not being too high, and then because it's a big drop from there, and not being too low, and he stays pretty calm. And that's what the top professionals do in any sport. Supercross, you watch them, and then you can see the LCQ guys that are freaking out, hammering the next dude, slamming a guy. And I'm like, guys, calm down. Like, hold on. Like, if it's the last corner, I understand it. But I'm like, a long race ahead of you. The top guys, you can see how mature they are. And I think that's where Cooper is, his maturity. And, when I was younger, I wouldn't say I threw tantrums, but I definitely used negative energy more than I should have. And I think that's where Cooper is nowadays. It's like, man, it's clicking. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you have your DA8 training school.
Yeah.
And you also you guys run a charity now, don't you?
We do. We have DH Strong. It's a dhstrong.org. It's a nonprofit 501c3, but we haven't announced it yet. And we are going to announce it here soon too, we're actually going to close that down because my wife is the one that was in charge of that. And it was all volunteer. We don't have any employees, so we volunteer our time. And when I say we, it's 90% Charlotte and 10% me. So, but with her dealing with her cancer again, and it's been up and down, and the stress is definitely a big factor that, we can't have something else on the plate. And as much as we love helping other people, because we were so lucky to have so many people help us. And that was one thing that my wife and I, when we were in the hospital, were like, we need to do something to give back. Like, this is something we've been really lucky to have so many people help us, that after that we raised money, and we've helped a lot of people, and we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. It's been tough in some cases because, people that had the cancer, it didn't go as well as for us, but it's nice to be there for them during their good times and bad times. But yeah, so to answer your question is, we are going to actually close that down here in the next month or something though.
Understood. Well, and you guys have done an awful lot for a lot of people for a long time. So,
Thank you.
You certainly don't, I don't need the extra added stress of anything right now in your lives, I'm sure. So
yeah, no, I want our focus to be on Charlotte right now. She's been an amazing woman and an amazing wife, but now it's like we're trying to enjoy these good days that we do have, and just trying to enjoy life as much as possible.
yeah, that's there again, that persevere in the positive. You just keep pushing the positives, and positive things happen,
I agree.
So that's all right. So what's up next after are you gonna jump on a bike and hit Chocolate Thunder or anything?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna definitely, like I said, I'm leading tomorrow. I have both my two 300 KTM 300s in there. My daughter's coming out Saturday. She lives in California, so she's gonna meet us in the desert and camp with us. And the wife's staying home, but my dad and I are driving over. And Kelsey won't go hit the hills with me, but I'm gonna go ride some hard enduro and work with the media crew a little bit here and there, and just go chase the pros as far as finding sections. But no, all this whole week I've had a hard enduro rider here, and a really good up and coming kid, and we've been riding hard enduro nonstop every day. So besides today, so yeah, it's been really good, and I still love riding it. One of my close friends, Dan Hayakawa, is racing, so going over there to support him, and still training with him, training with the guys I do. And like I said, it's just my fitness isn't what it used to be, but I still love doing some things. And now my mindset doesn't mind going around. If I see Cooper do some huge splatter, I have no problem trying to find the easiest Jeep road around to get to the top. Like, I'm like, yeah, risk to reward isn't what it used to be. And I'm like, there's a big difference there. So consequences nowadays for me, it doesn't make sense. And I won't risk it like I used to.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I just had that conversation actually with my wife. We call her the Striking Viking. I think you met her at one of the Endurocross last year, but um yeah, I have an affliction for bikes, and I haven't owned one for a while, and I said, I don't think I'm going to get back on the road. I think I'm just going to get a track bike. And her spider sense must have went off. She's like, well, that's great, but like, you're not going to be going out. You're just technique and training, right? You're not going out like to set fast time on the track or anything. And I'm like, well, if there is a fast time, it should be challenged.
Right.
And that was a mistake. She was like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, I have a dual sport 500 KTM, and then I have a KTM 790 adventure bike, and man, I absolutely love that world. Like, I've never really got into the adventure bike until I went to a KTM event, KTM Adventure Rally up in Colorado a few years ago, and since that point, I left there and I go, I'm getting a 790, and now they're 890s, but I'm like, it was a blast, and I'm like, normally I don't really like riding on Jeep roads or seeing, and I'm like, no, that's not my style. But nowadays, like I said, Dan, and I have another good friend, Ken, we go on long adventure rides and we'll do days at a time and go to stay at different places, or, do a morning to evening trip and bring food and go to cool places. And I'm like, this is what it's about. Like, I wouldn't do that on my regular motorbike or anything, but
right.
I want to ride single track and tougher stuff and motocross track. But with the 790, it's freaking cool. I really have a good time doing that now too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, speaking of the 790, I have some friends that are AFT Super Twins team that are based out of Havasu there where I am. And they just built 4 bikes, 2 790s, 2 890s. And we're going to be out there first weekend of April. If you're around during bike week, they're running what are they running? Like a super TT, Arizona Super TT. So,
that's cool. You have to let me know. Definitely let me know about that. Yeah. Remind me, because I'll forget for sure. My mind, 2 days later, I forget about it. So I don't write it down nowadays. I'm a list maker. I got to make lists because I can't remember.
Yeah, I use my Google Calendar like nobody's business. I feel you. So, all right. So what's next? What do you got?
Same thing now. My most of my focus is on Charlotte, and since she's doing well right now, she had chemo earlier this week, Tuesday. She does that every 3 weeks for the rest of her life, and then I just been training. Like, my main focus right now is working with athletes and everyday riders. I have a couple doctor clients, lawyers, and I'm just enjoying that. We do camps here. We're in Peoria, Arizona, like Northwest Phoenix, and we got a guest house, VRBO, and we have a casita where a lot of the riders stay, and we have people in and out. And we have our gym here, so I stay super busy now, just working with riders on physically, on, off the bike, mentally. They could do a camp. I do 4-day camps where they come and eat with us, breakfast, dinner. We make that and kind of get them pointed in the right direction and just kind of working with them. And I'll still be doing events for KTM, jumping around, doing all the enduro crosses. I do my D8 training classes Friday night. And then I do want to hit some events. I actually wanted to do some hard enduros, but with my schedule, as busy as I am, and with Charlotte, it didn't make sense right now. I'm like, that needs to be the priority. So, I'm riding and I'm happy with that right now.
I could see you back jumping in an event here or there.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Maybe even a vet class at Endurocross, and just.
That would be cool. I actually been thinking about it too. And I'm like, it would actually be fun. But again, I'm not going to go out there if I'm like 50%, I'm like, my mindset still, you talked about going to the track with your wife, like your wife was saying, I have a kid pass me, and next thing I know, my right wrist is twisted a little bit more than I probably should.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is I'm like, Yeah, I still have the racer in me as a downfall. So, I got
Yeah.
to be smart about that.
I think all of us are that way. All three of us anyways are
Yeah.
that way. It's like, you know, yeah, I'm that way. I said, I still have that problem where as soon as I get the seat between my legs, my brain disconnects from my right wrist.
Yeah, that is very true.
So, well, I think thank you for your time, Destry. We want to make sure,
Absolutely.
please, what is your website?
Yeah. The letter D, A, the number 8 training.com. And I answer all my emails there, and same thing on social media. I have D8 training and then my name. I have my own personal page and stuff. And, I love chatting with people. I love trying to help people out, and I love working with people. This summer, my wife and I, if things are going well, we're going to travel to Montana, Wyoming, Oregon, Idaho, and kind of do some group classes this summer. And I'm looking forward to that. And, hopefully we'll see some people out there and just having some fun.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got your contact. We'll get your sponsors in a minute. I'm going to throw it over to Cole. Cole, what you got? I know you got some questions. I can tell by the look on your face.
All right, two quick questions. One's training and one's historical. So for the training, if you had to pick, what's more important, seat time or off the bike strength training? If you had to pick one.
100% seat time. But, and that's a great, great question, by the way. And it's a question I'll get from riders, like especially racers. And I know a majority of the people that have Monday through Friday jobs or full-time jobs, the easiest way is to go into the gym, but you can't manipulate, or you can't do the same thing in a gym versus motorcycle riding on a bike. And the motorcycle training there's the one thing that, with motorcycle training is it doesn't have to be hard every single time. Like, it could just be working fundamentals, working sections, braking drill corners. And I can tell you, guys at the top level, the top pros will practice sections 20 times over and over. They'll literally ride that same section until they get it consistently good. And that's kind of what I used to do. And then we'll do some sprints and doing different things. But there's certain days that you can just be on the bike for 2 hours and it's about quality, not so much quantity. I have riders that go, oh, I ride like 80 to 100 miles every weekend. And I'm like, but you're just riding. Like, really, it's important to understand, like, practicing standing up. Where's your toes on the pegs? Like, let's work sections. And I have a lot of riders that, they within a month or two, the progression was insane. Like, because they really went back to understanding how to ride the bike the right way versus just putting in miles and practicing bad habits. So, that is a great question, but you can cycle, you can do different things as far as in the gym, but seat time would be 100% the best thing you could do if people can.
Yeah, and like you said, guys are normally working Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, so you got to make that time count when you're on the bike, I'd say.
100%, yeah.
So now leading into my historical question, I would say that you have probably one of the most iconic desert racing finishes on video ever. And if Lauren hasn't seen this video, I'm going to send it to him tonight. But it was Best in the Desert Laughlin, is that correct, with Ty Davis?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that day?
So that was a good one, and that was hairball. We talk about. I really like to ride within my limits for the most part. And like I said, even like we were talking about Supercross, LCQ, 255, it's scary. Like, I'm like, guys, slow down. Like, it's just everybody's hammering each other. But I said, the only time I'll get like that is if there's a corner or two left and it's for the win. And well, Ty Davis and I going down the last lap, my teammate, Brian Brown, it was a team race and it was single track. So Laughlin Hare Scramble was so much fun. And Brian made up a little time on Ty's teammate. And then we lost time early on. And I don't remember why, but, I remember going down the last loop. It was like basically 45, 50 minutes to this loop. And it was a sprint for me. So we talk about training. I'm like, I do a lot of sprints, and I remember Ty was a little less than a minute in front of me and I threw down, and like within maybe a few miles left, it's that second wind where I'm like, oh, is that him on the ridge? And Next thing you know, that wrist started getting heavier and heavier, and I started riding closer to the edge. And coming down the last hill, I literally reeled him in, and as you know, that right hander into the sand wash. I tried to set him up, and people said, "Oh, you tried to take Ty out." I'm like, actually, I was on the inside, and it kind of veered to the right, and Ty started coming over, which was fine. Let's say we weren't friends back then. I didn't care for the guy. I didn't really like him at all, and I respected him. I respected him because he was such a badass racer, and he was one of my idols. But you don't tell the guy you're racing against that you're that. I'm like, I want to beat this guy. So I gave it everything I had. And he started veering over me, taking my line as it was going right. And I started leaning against him on the left. And as you saw, he kept pulling over on me. And I kind of leaned that way, and I couldn't get back. And it was carnage. It was luckily the bush, and it really wasn't that bad of a crash, as ugly as it was. But that was for the win. And you think 6 hours of racing, it came down to 100 feet from the finish, and I tried to go for it. So, but I've been on the good end and I've been on the bad end. So I was fine with it. And I'm like, oh, he won that one, or they did. So I'm going to give you an effort. I'll always give you effort. That's for sure.
I mean, how many desert races even finished that close to begin with? So
exactly.
And to have it on film back then, mind-boggling.
It's pretty neat. It's like you said, I'm like, desert racing doesn't necessarily always end so close. And that was one that, it was exciting. It was a cool memory. And it's like how weird how I could think about all those miles leading up to it, and the drop-offs, and can't remember crap anymore, but I can remember the tracks and rocks and jumps and things like that. So
that's awesome. That's cool. Yes, Cole, you did send me that.
Okay, good.
You're like, I get this message. Have you seen this yet? And I was like, yeah, but it's been a long time. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Is that Destry?
that needs to be a throwback video, huh? I need to put that together again.
Yes.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, that's Desert Racing Archive right there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
You have to get your daughter to chop it up and get it all mixed in and for one of the like your TikTok or something.
I don't do TikTok, but I'm like, I got Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I'm like, that's enough time for me, and I still don't even get on there that often. But yeah, Kelsey, my daughter's really good at that stuff. But her husband, Jared McNeil, she spends plenty of time doing videos and content for him. So I get the back seat to Jared nowadays, which is just fine. So, and especially Riot, our grandson. So we have a grandson. They have their little guy Riot, and he's been the best thing for Charlotte and I. And we love that little guy. We get to see him next week, so that's what we look forward to.
That is awesome. I have a couple of 3 grandchildren now, so I totally get that.
Yeah,
it's like FaceTime every week, So they, I decided I was too young to be called Grandpa, and somehow they came up with Papa Wheelie. And
that's neat.
I said, that fits. So now that's what they all call me. So I'm really blessed.
That's really cool. Actually, I never thought of that. They were trying to come up with names, and I'm like, that one's actually a cool name. That would have been good from the start. Now it's too late. So
you can borrow it if you need to.
Yeah.
So Cole, you got anything else? I know
you've been more than gracious with your time, and if we get you back on, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more.
100%. I appreciate you guys having me on, and it was my pleasure. And Cole, it was nice meeting you, and hopefully we'll see you out in the desert or riding or doing another interview or something.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
For sure. Destry, your sponsors.
KTM's, the big one, D8 Training, FMF, I have a lot of good people behind me. Strictly Wild, my daughter's company there, and CD Boots. So I still got plenty of people behind me helping me out and supporting me. Steve Fox, who's a good friend of mine, who Fox Auto Team in Texas. He's the one that got me to Texas when I was sick, and That's what you're saying. Our industry is an amazing group of people that come from all worlds of life. Like, you know, a lot of people think motorcycles are all hardcore people. And I'm like, man, they're some of the best people out there. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
couldn't agree more, for sure. For sure. And yeah, man, we are so thankful to have you on here.
Thank you.
I know you've got an early morning tomorrow, and you're
Um,
probably pretty dogged out after you've been training for 4 days now. So
yeah.
we'll let you get out of here. Cole and I'll wrap up the business end of our partners. And Destry, thank you so much. I hope we can have you on again soon. Have a great weekend. I hope you catch Cole out at King of the Hammers.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah.
I'll be out there. So if you're not doing media or something, I'll come say hi.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely don't hesitate and come yell at me or push me or whatever. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for having me on too.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
All right. We'll see you later.
See you later.
Bye.
All right. Destry Abbott, man, what a legend, dude. Just unbelievable. And I know we're running up on time here, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to give our sponsors a shout out. We are going to give a special shout out to Destry, Charlotte. Charlotte, you're in our prayers. We're thinking of you. The rest of the Abbotts, man, you guys have fun this week. And of course, DA8 training. Google them if you can't find it. I believe it's da8training.com. And that'll lead us into our partners, Kicker Performance Audio at kicker.com for all your automotive, truck, boat, motorcycle, off-road, on-road, or personal audio needs. Get living loud with Kicker Performance Audio at kicker.com. And of course, Bomber Eyewear. Bomber floating eyewear at bombereyewear.com. Yes, they float, but you can also get them in multiple styles, different colored lenses. You can get them in safety glasses. You can get them in clear smoke, amber, dark smoke. You can get them in dark smoke polarized safety glasses like I wear, because one can never be too careful, especially with the old baby blue eyes. That's Bomber Floating Eyewear at bombereyewear.com. Of course, our producer and co-host at the Premix Podcast on Instagram. Find him there, message him there for all your desert racing photo needs. He's doing, I know he'll be out at Hammers up and coming. So check him out at the Premix Podcast for all your desert racing media and photo needs. And last but not least, Kelsey Morel Film. Find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morel Film. Cole, I know you and Kelsey have been working on just getting this stuff hammered out. I want to thank you guys so much. I believe what did I just get? Episode 6, 5?
Something.
Yeah, I think it was 5. I just got up on our YouTube. Be sure and check out our YouTube at MAddOG Media, MAddOG MEDIA. Look for our helmet, Angry Mad Dog helmet logo. And yeah, man, Cole, thank you so much. We want to again thank Destry for taking the time out. Super busy dude. It's really, and a really great dude. It was good to talk to him. We'll be back soon with a recap from the Guthrie 2. And other than that, you got anything? What you got, Cole?
No, we're going racing this weekend. So that's it.
Hell yeah. All right. We'll have a recap on that on the next one too. Thank you for coming along for the ride on episode 24. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Almost half a century.
Almost half of a half.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Oh. Hey, I'm not good at the maths.
Get some rest.
And yeah, we're sitting here in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and about to sign out. Cole, you got anything else for tonight?
No, just pretty wild to talk to the Destry Abbott. So still trying to process that.
Awesome and amazing. That's a wrap. Mad Dog out.